Hey everybody, this is Jackie and welcome back to episode 2 of our Aunt Flo show.
Hi everyone, it's Tracy here.
So Tracy, what's going on with you these days?
Oh, not much. How about you?
Also not much. I just went on vacation to Spain and Portugal, but I just got back. And yeah, I'm excited to record some podcast episodes for you guys to listen to. All right, so today's topic, we're going to talk about how to choose a menstrual cup. So it can feel pretty overwhelming. There's a ton of choices, probably about 100 cups on the market today. And of course, they all have different sizes and stem options, etc. So we're going to get kind of into all the small details about how to choose the best one for your body type. But first,
it's time for the TMI moment.
Ding, ding,
ding, ding, ding.
All right, so Tracy is going to get that for us. Just a sec.
Okay, so thank you. And for all of you who want to contribute a TMI moment, you can go to the podcast site.
AuntFloShow.com, so F-L-O, no W on that, AuntFloShow.com.
And submit your TMI moment. And we will read one per episode and also send you a little thank you in the mail. So today's TMI moment comes from Lady in Red Tights. So here's what they had to say. Being a newbie in using menstrual cups, I was a bit scared and skeptical. So when I inserted it correctly the first time, I was really impressed with the cup and myself, of course. But then it was time to remove it. Feeling around for the little stem took a while. Eventually I got hold of it, I pulled it downwards and pinched the bottom, trying to break the seal. I began feeling very nervous, thinking that I am never going to get the cup out. So when the seal eventually broke, I was so elated that I pulled it out in one quick movement and, apart from the very loud suctioning sound, ended up spilling the contents, which unfortunately was quite a lot, all over my light gray tights. All of this happening while in a bathroom, in a public restroom. It looked as though the bottom half of my body took part in a massacre. What was worse was that I was all alone in the mall. I had to call my mom, and she came all the way from home with a fresh pair of tights. In the 30 minutes it took my mom to get there, my emotions were jumping between shock, horror, amusement, and disbelief. Definitely learned my lesson.
All right. Thank you, Lady in Red Tights.
Thanks, Lady in Red Tights. So, Jackie, so I'm thinking there's some things that you've said about choosing a cup, but I guess I'm wondering, like, what are the different things, like different parts of the cup and things to consider anyways, like before we actually get into the details?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So basically cups differ in a few different areas. So one main one is the diameter. So probably like a small cup would be something like 38 or 39 millimeters. So that would be great for a teenager or like a very, very small person, especially if you haven't had sex before, vaginal penetrative sex, or if you haven't given birth, you'd want a small one. And then
so the diameter, does that refer to the top part of the cup?
Yes, like basically the length across the rim of the cup.
Okay.
And then larger ones would get up to say like 45 or 46 millimeters. So if you've given birth vaginally multiple times. And then also the length is kind of key. Yeah, so the height of your cervix. Different lengths.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then you can also have different stem options. So just probably you're familiar with the flat stem or the ball or the ring. So we'll talk a little bit about that later.
Okay.
And then also the materials. There's a few different types of materials for menstrual cups. So yeah, that's kind of how they differ. So
are they all kind of, I don't know if you mentioned this already, but like sort of like more firm or more soft? Is there different kind of...
Yeah, sure. So within that material or the different materials, there's definitely firmness options. So some are thinner, some are thicker. And yeah, so.
Okay, cool.
All right, so do you want to get into it?
Yeah, so what's the first thing?
So the first one is if you've given vaginal birth or not.
Okay.
So if you've given vaginal birth, you'll want to stick with one of the larger diameter cups. And then if you haven't, you'll probably want one of the smaller diameter cups. So.
Okay. So I've seen on some cups, they'll say... that if you're like, they'll go by age. Mm-hmm. So it's more important if you've given birth vaginally than your age.
I mean, like each menstrual cup company has a different opinion about this. And yeah, some companies like the Diva Cup, for example, recommends that if you're over 30, even if you haven't given birth vaginally, you use their larger cup. So actually that's personally what I did when I first started out with menstrual cups. That's the one I started with. I'm Canadian and they're a Canadian company, so it's just kind of a natural one that we would try out. So I used it and it was actually too big. It just didn't fit. It never opened up inside me. And yeah, when I like switched to a smaller one, I was much happier. It just didn't leak. It didn't hurt. It was much easier to insert and remove. So yeah, I'm just not really a big fan of the going by age thing. I think vaginal birth is kind of a more accurate indicator.
I guess, which because it would affect your vaginal tone and the stretchiness of your vagina, I guess.
Yes. All right. So the next one is whether or not you have a low or a high cervix height. So
how would you know if you've had a low or high cervix, Jackie?
well, there's kind of a small test, I guess, that like the bloggers would talk about. So or even the menstrual cup company. So you can like use your index finger and then you can put it into your vagina. And if it reaches to your first knuckle, that means you have a very low cervix. So in that case, you'd want a short menstrual cup. And if you put it in and then it reaches most of the way in and then you can touch your cervix, that's kind of like a medium height cervix. So you'd want kind of like just an average length cup, probably around like 70 millimeters or something like that. And then if you can't reach your cervix at all, even with your index finger fully inserted, then maybe like a cup that's a little bit longer, like slightly over 70 millimeters would probably work better for you just because you can remove it more easily. When you reach up in there, you can grab the stem.
So it doesn't get lost in there.
Well, it never will actually get lost, but it will just be easier to get out, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so then the next one are the different materials in them. So they have latex, thermoplastic elastomer, and silicone. So ideally, all of these should be medical grade. So you can definitely get some cheapy cups that aren't medical grade silicone. So you'll find them on Amazon for like $2.99 or something crazy like that. And they come from China. And you'll often see things like food grade or platinum grade or diamond grade silicone, for example. And those are kind of not the key buzzwords that you're looking for. You're actually just looking for medical grade. So whatever you choose, just kind of that's the number one requirement. But besides that, it doesn't really matter what material your menstrual cup is made from. I mean, there's a few small differences, but unless you have allergies, which some people actually do to latex, then it's not a big deal. So, but currently...
So if you had a latex allergy, then you can choose the silicone.
Or the TPE one.
Or TPE.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but actually the latex one was the keeper cup that was around. It's been around since the 70s or something like that. And it's actually not really I'm not sure if it's in production anymore or not. And it's actually quite difficult to find. So
that's the only latex cup?
That's the only latex cup as far as I know that was ever in production, like kind of in the current days. So it would be actually quite difficult for you to find a latex cup. I would be surprised if you could even buy one these days. So yeah, you'll find TPE or silicone, and both are fine. Yeah, they'll work great for you. Okay, so the next one is the stem type. So
I've had
Tracy has some opinions.
With this.
Okay, so Tracy, tell us what you think about
it. The first cup I used actually had a very, very firm stem, and no matter what I did or what position, I could always feel that hard stem. And the cup that I've settled into now has a very, very soft and flexible stem, and I never feel it. So for me, the stem is a huge thing that I look for.
And so it sounds like you have kind of a low cervix, would be my guess, if you could feel the stem.
That's for me to know and you to find out.
Okay, and so besides like the firmness of the stem, I guess, there's a few different options. There's like the ball and the ring and the flat stem. So do you have a preference, Tracy, or?
The what?
Well, there's like some cups have just like a ball on the end.
Oh, yes.
Some of them have like a ring. Like the Lena Cup is one, for example, that will have a ring, or the Menstrual Cup also. Or there's just like the Diva Cup, for example, has like the very flat, like skinny stem. So what do you think?
Doesn't matter to me as long as I can get a hold of it.
Yes.
How about you?
I kind of prefer the ones that are like have little ridges or balls or something on them. I just find it easier to
to
get them.
grip.
Yeah,
To
to grip
grip.
them when you're taking it out. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and are there longer stems and shorter stems?
There definitely are longer and shorter. So, yeah, my cervix is not low. I'm willing to tell everyone about my cervix height. So I have kind of a high cervix. So, yeah, I prefer like a little bit of a longer cup. I just find them easier to
Longer
remove.
stem?
Or longer stem.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
a longer overall cup. Yeah, so it's just easier to remove. Yeah. All right, and then the last one is the firmness. So you can get like some very, very firm ones, like the latex cup that we mentioned, the keeper cup is so firm. And yeah, then there's very, very soft cups too that you can buy. So what do you prefer, Tracy, or like what do you think about that?
I think a medium one. And actually, I remember one of the cups that you used was quite firm and you were getting quite bad cramps. So I think, excuse me, if you do have a firmer cup, then if you are getting really bad cramps, then it might be something to think about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was using like the large Diva Cup and I was getting cramps from it. I think it was like maybe part of the problem was just that the cup was too big for me, and then perhaps the other problem was that it was quite firm. So I switched to the small Sckoon Cup. Is kind of I get lots of cups for as samples from companies, so I've tried pretty much all of them. But the one I kind of use when I'm not testing one is the small Sckoon Cup, and it's a very soft small cup. And yeah, I love it. I'm super happy. I have to change it out a little bit more often, just because it doesn't have a high capacity. But yeah, I'm generally happy with it for sure.
Ooh, capacity.
How did we not write that on our little chart? All right, so have we covered firmness? Well, let me just say one more thing about firmness. So it's kind of like companies will recommend if you play like sports, like kind of very dynamic active sports, like say weightlifting or powerlifting or just something like that, or wrestling, then they recommend a firm cup because they say that like when you're moving like that, you can collapse the cup and cause the suction seal to break, and then the result will be leaking. Or something like volleyball or even tennis where you have like those like kind of powerful movements where you like clench your muscles.
Or pitching.
Pitching. Tracy is a pitcher in softball. She has a game tonight that we're going to go watch, I think. But anyway, so yeah, so that's just kind of the reason why I guess you would get a firm one, and it's also a little bit easier to insert because they kind of just pop open. Where softer cups, you kind of have to like play around with it a little bit. Yeah, to get them to
It might
open.
be harder to get them open. No? Yes?
Yeah, a little
I've
bit.
never tried a super soft cup before.
You like the Zoflo, right? Or is that a secret? Oh no, I just gave away your secret. And the Zoflo, I guess, yeah, it is kind of like a medium firmness cup.
Deadpan silence.
Tracy has no response. She's not confirming or denying which one she uses. Okay, so what was the thing we were going to talk about? Oh yeah, the capacity.
Which is actually a big one for me. Here's a detail I am willing to share. My period is very, 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 very heavy. And that's one of the reasons, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, of why I tried the cup in the first place was because I was not really getting much done. And so capacity is a huge qualifier for me. So high capacity is great in my world, but...
And so by high capacity, we kind of mean like for example, the Diva Cup has a capacity of 30 milliliters. And so that's kind of, I guess, the average or the standard. And then you would consider a cup that has more than that to be high capacity and lower than that to be low capacity. So I think the Zoflo Large that you're currently maybe using is something like 38 milliliters, just off the top of my head. I'm not looking it up
You're
right
all
now.
up in my business.
And then, for example, the small Sckoon Cup that I use, I think is, I'm going to guess, about 23 milliliters. So you guys can look that up and tell me if I'm correct or not in those. But so yeah, you prefer a high capacity, and my period is actually not that heavy. So yeah, I use a smaller cup and find that it's not a big deal, except maybe on the night of my heaviest flow, I have to wear a cloth pad as like backup, and that's kind of my only small issue that I have.
Here's a question for you, Jackie.
Yeah.
You know how with tampons, how there's always a note about trying to use the most appropriate absorbency for your flow. So if you had a higher, a heavy period, I guess, no, actually opposite. If you had a lighter period and were using a high capacity or large volume capacity cup, is that bad?
No, not at all. It's quite different than tampons, actually. So, kind of the only recommendation with regards to TSS and menstrual cups is that you take out your cup and then you wash it well every 12 hours. So,
Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're malaligned with the capacity and your flow?
yeah, not at all. So you don't have to like switch out cups. You could actually, yeah, just use one. Some companies actually sell like packages of 2 cups, so like the small and large, which I don't really understand. So if the small fits you well, the large probably is not going to, and vice versa. So yeah, just use 1 cup for your entire period. Find one that works for you, and then just use it for all the situations. And just be sure to clean it well every 12 hours.
If people have any questions for us with regards to any of this, how can they get a hold of us?
Well, they can just head over to antflowshow.com. So AUNTFLOSHOW.com. And there's a little comment box and a TMI moment, and then you can find all the podcast episodes and just all the information you need to know.
I remember when I was trying to choose the cup that I was using, you had an amazing quiz that I took that helped me get to what I needed. So can you tell me about that?
Yeah, sure. So if you want some help finding the perfect cup, there's more than like 100 cups to choose from. So it can be pretty tough. So yeah, I recommend just going to my website, reusablemenstrualcup.com/quiz. And yeah, there's like I think there's 5 or 6 simple questions. And then at the end, you'll get a recommendation for 2 or 3 menstrual cups that would probably work for you. So yeah, you can use that as kind of the basis of your further research into which one will work. So yeah, I think, is there anything else that we didn't cover, Tracy, or anything you'd like to mention?
No, that's it for today.
All right, everyone. So we'll catch you next time. Take care and have a good day.
Thanks for tuning in.